If you're not already doing the things that I'm about to suggest you do in this video, it's likely that you are tearing up money and just throwing it away senselessly. There's a PS5. Here is a nice new pair of shoes. Here is a whole stack of Pokemon cards, if that's your vibe. Here is a wig. I don't know what you do on a Tuesday night. Here is a Lamborghini. Yeah, those are on sale these days. But yeah, that's why I suggest you stick around so that you can stop throwing all of that valuable money into the trash. Stick around. Did you know that every year people throw millions and millions of tons worth of gold into landfills? Well, not gold, but food scraps. And so I'm going to teach you in this video 3 ways how to use your food scraps and turn them into gold, gardener's gold, that you can use to fertilize your plants, boost the growth of your trees that you're planting, and just overall be good for the environment, not sending stuff to landfill, and also just you know, being part of that circle of life and stuff. So join us as we run through the 3 methods that I use on a regular basis to use food scraps. So Andy's going to come and help us learn a little bit more about this today. But every year, millions and millions of tons of food scraps. This stuff right here, you know, the undesirables, the orange peel, the little piece of rocket, your tea bags, all that lovely stuff, the ends of the cucumber that you don't really want to eat, the banana peels, all that stuff, including eggshells if that's what you eat and all that sort of thing. All of that stuff goes into a bag, goes into the trash truck, ends up in a landfill, creates methane, and destroys the planet. But what you can do is that, you can actually use those food scraps. We just collect this. We then take a 25-liter drum like this. It's an old paint tin from when we painted the inside of the house. And we put it with the rest of the food scraps in this bin. And as you can see, it's full now, hence the reason I'm making this video. And we just then go and use the 3 methods that I'm going to show you to make this stuff work for us. This is just some old tomato paste that we made that is growing legs and was trying to walk out of the fridge. So, you know, try and let it walk into the garden a bit more. So join me as we dive into those 3 methods. But this is the start. This is all you have to do. I mean, these you can pick up for free from a painter in most cases. A lot of people just chuck these things away. So use them, make them work for you. And then you've got this much volume to do one of my favorite methods, which I'll put at the end. You know, stick around to the end and you'll see what it is. So let's go. So I've got my trusty hoe over here, and what we've done is dig this little trench. It can be as long or as deep as you like, depending on how many food scraps you have. You also don't even need food scraps, to be honest. You could just use green stuff from your garden, wastes, products from trees and branches and all that sort of thing, and put them in a trench. So this method I will call the trench composting method. I did not come up with that myself. I'd be a millionaire if I did, you know, royalties and stuff. Gardeners are good at that. So this method is nice if you are starting a garden bed. It's nice if you are sort of expanding a garden bed slowly over time, which is what we're doing over here. So that's why I'm choosing this method. So I'm going to switch the camera around and I'm going to show you what we're doing. So this is a new garden bed. More details in a video to come. And so this garden bed is going to be expanding. Zoom queen, nailing it. This garden bed is going to be expanding all the way along here, and so all the way along this tree line. And so by burying the food scraps in here, I can plant some important plants that I need and want to grow over here that need that nutrients, and I can bury them right there. You could do this in raised garden beds, you could do this in just normal veggie beds, but the importance is that you are digging a trench, putting the food scraps in the trench. I mean, this one's only about a hand depth, and then you're just going to be covering it up and let the earthworms do the rest. And the plants, they will find it, all that nutrients. Now, I'm not particularly using that bucket of food scraps that I showed you in this method over here with the trenching, because that I'm going to save for my favorite method right at the end, you know, another teaser for the end of the video. And so stick around, because that one I actually use and I feel is the most beneficial for what I'm doing here. But the rest of these are still fantastic and are basically creating fertilizer for your plants, short-term and long-term, and that's what you want. That's the whole purpose of this exercise, is to turn food scraps into fertilizer. The next method, I wanted to use specifically this one because of the fact that you don't need anything else to use your food scraps with this one. So whether you've got a small setup and you've just got a bin where you put your food scraps in with an open bottom, maybe there'll be a picture on the screen, who knows, or you've got a 3-box setup as well to do composting, or just a single sort of 4 pallets with a removable front, and you're just putting your garden scraps and food scraps in there. Doesn't really matter. The fact is that you're going to be adding your food scraps. Just imagine a handful of food scraps over here, and you would then just be digging a hole and adding this to your existing compost pile. That is basically method number 2. But because there's not much to this one, I'm going to add on a couple of bonus methods that you could use your food scraps with. So we're going to head back to the house now and run through what those are. And yeah, but this one I like. I don't use this method of adding food scraps to compost because I have other preferred methods. Maybe I'll do it eventually. But most of the time I use method number 1, which you've seen, and method number 3, which you will see in a moment. So let's go. The other ways that you could use your food scraps is, number 1, like a bokashi type of thing like this. As you can tell, it's pretty dusty and not used because we don't use it. We could rather go for a larger scale and do things like this rather than bokashi. Bokashi is basically you're putting the food scraps in something like this, as you can tell, where you have the ability to drain those liquids that will build up, and then you alternating layers of food scraps and bokashi, which is like a bran, and that is an anaerobic, so no oxygen in here, so it's going to break down in that way, and then you can use the liquid that comes out as a liquid fertilizer in a way, and then you would eventually just chuck this into your garden anyway. So, you know, why, in my mind, I just skip this method or this step, and this costs something. So that's why I haven't included this in this as one of the main things and more of a bonus method, because you need a bucket like this that comes at the tap. It's generally like a specialized thing, or if you want to make something like this, then go ahead. And then you need the bokashi bran to have that every time. So that's why I haven't included this, but there is another method as well that also costs something to start up, but once it's set up, it's not going to cost you anything more. So let's jump to that. So over here I have started a worm bin, vermicompost, that's the word. All you need is a bathtub like this, preferably one that you're not using in the house because your wife might not like that. Luckily my wife's cool. Anyway, so we just had this old bathtub, and it's even got some cracks in it, but it doesn't matter, you can just use some fiberglass and patch those up if you've got a broken one. But the benefit of these is that you might be investing in this, or if you can just go to a second-hand place or know somebody who's chucking out a bathtub, go for it. But then you also need to get the right kind of worms. You can't just use earthworms, because the worms that you use for a vermicompost setup like this are different to the worms that you find in the ground typically. But we're going to do a whole episode deep dive into this when I actually start this. I've set this up and it's ready to go in a way, but there's a couple of things and steps that you need to follow to get this started, which I'm not ready for yet. So you're going to have to just wait for that one. But it's pretty much all you need to start. But the costs up front is a bathtub if you are buying one from a second-hand place or sourcing a bathtub or something, and then the worms themselves. And then you'll also, what I've seen is you'll need some manure of some kind, so like cow or horse or chicken or whatever, and then you're gonna get going on that. But you also need volumes initially to start building up. That's what the manure and stuff is for. Yeah, so those are your bonus tips for using your food scraps. But let's now jump into the final one that I use all the time. We're going this way. One more thing. I forgot of a third sort of bonus tip that you could use. You take a bucket like this, you drill multiple holes in this all around an inch, a couple centimeters round. You just get a hole saw, then you cut out the bottom as well, and then you bury this up to about there in a garden bed. I've seen it mostly done in raised garden beds. You could also do this just with a PVC pipe, the 110mm PVC pipes that you use for plumbing and that sort of thing, underground plumbing. And that then encourages the earthworms to come into that bucket and start digesting. So it uses aspects of vermicomposting within the garden bed itself. Then those earthworms are going to go back into the soil that the vegetables have their roots in and do their business there. And that's then going to be introducing that fertilizer into the soil. And then you are constantly just going to be opening the lid, putting your food scraps in there, closing it up. The only reason I haven't really included that one is because you do need a bucket. But I guess if you're collecting the food scraps in something, you're going to need a bucket. So that's, I don't know, swings and roundabouts. But that one's really nice. I just haven't done that one myself, just because I've found methods that work for me. If this method works for you, because you don't have the space and the other methods or the means to do the other methods, or space to plant trees and all those kinds of things. Sneak peek to the next one. That's why I haven't included this one as a main method, but give it a try. Let me know how it works for you, and I'd love to hear, because then I'll give it a go as well. Okay, now let's this way. Come on, let's go. So what you're going to need for this third method, which is my favorite, we are doing it in a spot that is going to become a full garden bed, as you saw with one of the previous methods. And because there's going to be a tree here. There's avoes over there, there's going to be other fruit trees. This will be a food forest, effectively. And there'll be multiple different species of fruit trees. And so I'm prepping the ground for summer by prepping this right now, by digging the hole and putting the food scraps in there, and then I'm just going to put a stake or stick in the ground so I don't forget where it is. And then next summer or spring, I'm going to be planting a tree right there. So the earthworms are going to do their job in the meantime throughout winter, because winter is coming. And so in the meantime, I'm just going to prep and plan for then. So what you'll need is your trusty hoe, bring her everywhere, and a spade, just to make the hole nice and sharp. And then your trusty bucket of food scraps and rotting vegetables. So that's what you're going to need, and then we're going to just get to digging this. What you want for a fruit tree or planting a fruit tree is a pretty big hole so that it's got space to expand. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to top this off with some compost. When I actually plant the tree, I'm going to be putting a lot of compost in the hole as well. I put compost in now just to also bring some beneficial microbes in there. But I'm planting a pretty small tree in here in spring, so I don't need the biggest hole right now. If I was planting a bigger tree, I would, but you know, just play around. There's various different methods of planting a tree, how big you make the hole, how much compost, if you make it square or round or whatever, that's your call. I've had good results with all of them, so just go for it. The best thing to do is just to plant the tree. Whether you are doing it with a square or a circle is a whole nother matter. So I'm only planting this or digging this as deep as I need to fill the hole with the food scraps. It will compact over time and make a bit of an indent, but yeah, it doesn't need to be a massive hole. Anyway, now comes the moment of truth, where we put all this delicious stuff into the hole. So avert your eyes if you are sensitive to this kind of thing. And that is some healthy veggies. You may actually get pumpkins growing out of these kinds of holes if you eat a lot of pumpkins and throw away the seeds. We do, and so we also get a lot of avo pips, but we save our avo pips and I plant them intentionally around the garden. But we do get, speaking of avo pips, there's one right here. So yeah, we plant them around the garden, but you will get pumpkins most likely popping up, or whatever vegetables that you are burying in this hole. So if that's going to bug you, then just bury it a little bit deeper. And what I would do is also just to top off the hole with compost, which is what I'll do now, and just put a stake in it, really. So let's use the magic of editing and cut to that. There we go. That's really as simple as that. Now I'm just going to wait till spring, a couple months time, and then I'll just dig a nice hole and add some more compost, and then plant the tree here and do all the things necessary to keep that tree alive, watering it, sheltering it if it needs that. But you'll see in future videos how this will become a wall of fruit and vegetables. So that's really great. And the wind comes from this direction, so this actually blocks a lot of wind as well for us. So it's multi-purpose, but we'll get into that kind of planning of your garden and the system using the sun and the wind and the rain and all that jazz in future episodes. But this is my favorite one, and I hope that you choose this one, because plant a tree. So there we have it, 3 different ways to use your food scraps in your gardening setup. So as I stand here in front of our syntropic garden beds, some are looking better than others, as we prepare for winter. That's what the stakes are all for. So if you want to see how we prepare here for frost and protecting pawpaws like that from the frost, then let me know, and we can do a video like that. But yeah, let me know which of these methods would work best for you and what other methods that you've tried. And yeah, I'll take you on a quick walkthrough on the syntropic beds. But if you like this video, then like and subscribe and join me for some future ones.